Part 73. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 726. How did things turn out like this? Father Yan and Mother Yan were sitting next to their mother's hospital bed. Yan Qingqing was leaning against the window, holding an apple in her hand and eating it. Han Qian opened the door and said softly, "Uncle, when did you two come here? Why didn't you inform us in advance? I'll pick you up." Father Yan turned his head and curled his lips. "If I had told you in advance, would I still be able to see my mother-in-law today? You are full of tricks. I am not in a hurry to go back this time. When my mother-in-law is discharged from the hospital, we can sit at the dinner table and have a good chat about the two children. So let's do this for today, let my mother-in-law have a good rest." Yan's father left as soon as he said so, and took Lady Yasha with him when he left. Han Qian sent the family of 3 out of the ward, closed the door and turned around with doubts on his face. "Mom, what have you been talking about?" Qian's mother looked out the window and said calmly, "Let's talk about your and Qingqing's marriage, where to hold the wedding, and how many tables to host." Hearing this, my mother is angry. Han Qian walked around to the window, squatted beside the hospital bed and whispered softly, "Mom, Qingqing, how can I explain this to you? Anyway, it's just that I don't want to get married." Qian's mother reached out and grabbed Han Qian's ears, frowning. "I know you are somewhat capable in Binhai City, but bigamy is illegal. In addition, I tell you that Xiao Nuan is my daughter-in-law. This is a fact, an unchangeable fact. If one day I know that you and Nuan are separated, if it's gone, then our mother and son will also be separated. No. You'd better be a mother to me. Why don't I understand? What's better about being warm? I can't do anything, I don't have enough to eat, I can't go to the hall or the kitchen, and I can't beat the gangsters. There is nothing else I can do except complain." Listening to Han Qian complaining about his daughter-in-law, Qian's mother sat up straight and pulled Han Qian's face hard, frowning. "What are you expressing to me? Han Qian. I'm going to put this here today. You have grown up and become an adult. As a mother, I can't control your private life, and I don't bother to care about it. But when it comes to your marriage, yes, there is no rule in our family about freedom of love and that parents cannot make the decision. Xianyuan is a bit stupid, but she is kind-hearted. If you find a girl who is as sharp as a knife, your life will be better. I am the mother-in-law. How are you doing?" Han Qian grinned and said nothing, while Qian's mother continued. "I have met almost all the girls around you. Today I will talk to you. Let me talk about Qingqing first. She is mature, sensible, well-educated and tolerant. She is also the girl who pursues you the most. I have seen her advantages. Of course, there are also shortcomings. Qingqing has a strong personality. How can she tolerate everything you are doing now? You young people have a word called control." Han Qian raised his head and grinned. "Is it that serious?" Qian's mother nodded seriously. "Yes. It's certain that Qingqing likes you, you can see it from her eyes, but she likes and possesses you. Besides, Xiahua, she probably has no other thoughts in her mind except playing and having fun, she does things impulsively. Let's talk about Yao Yao, I haven't figured out her character until now. Among the girls around you, she is the only one who looks at you with disgust and hatred. What about Jijing? Where is Jijing? Jijing is so gentle. In ancient times, she might have been the canary that couldn't get in, Han Qian. Jijing is a very good girl. I can't find anything wrong with her. But she is so good that there is nothing she can do. To restrain you, your responsibilities will only become what you think of as responsibilities, rather than responsibilities to a family." Han Qian frowned and sighed, and Qian's mother continued. Let's talk about this girl in poetry. The personality difference between foreigners is that she only has work in her life. She only regards marriage and childbirth as required courses in life, or as a kind of her own job. Mom, I have nothing to do with poetry. Then you mean everything besides poetry is related? There is also Yeats just now, a shrewd and intelligent woman. But judging from Yeats's performance, she will only respect men who are stronger and smarter than her, and will not feel wronged. Marry with integrity. Xiao Hanqian, let me calculate this, how many girls have you hooked up with? Hanqian lowered his head and whispered. The capital is still raising one, and there is a rich lady who wants to marry me. Your son is a hottie now, but he is still warm when he sleeps with me every day, Mom. In fact, I also have a headache now, what should I do? Huh. I don't know if you can see the fight between Nuan and Yan Qingqing, but I can't understand it now anyway. Qian'er's mother said calmly. I'm not blind. When Nuan is a daughter-in-law, but I never said that I can only have one daughter-in-law. As for your mother-in-law, I, as a mother, have the shamelessness to explain it to you, but it's up to you whether you can master it yourself. Almost, if one day you are killed by the battle of a few girls, I laughed, when there is no son, otherwise. If a few girls have a bleeding, I will beat you fiercely. No son. Han Qian raised his head, wrinkled his face and spoke in a grieved tone. I promise. What should I say? I really haven't hooked up with your son, hooked up with King Hu, but that was only after he was drunk. We have a cooperative relationship with Qing Qing, and then we don't know why we got into trouble. It's sticky now, forget it, I'll do my own research. Are you really planning to meet Yan Qingqing's parents after you leave the hospital? Qian'er's mother frowned. Is it still possible to miss her? The girl's family has come to visit me. Now I feel like I have a crooked neck tree, and these guys are rushing to send my daughter to hang herself. Now Han Qian finally understood who he was following with his bad words, but he still felt a little uncomfortable no matter what he said, so he tilted his head and frowned. Why am I a tree with a crooked neck? I have the same appearance as you, not to mention Yushulinfen, but our appearance is better than that of Panan, right? I'm tired, get away. My son, please retire. Han Qian turned around and asked when he was leaving. Mom, do you want to celebrate when you are discharged from the hospital? There are probably a lot of people coming to see you recently, so you should be mentally prepared. Roll. Where's my dad? I went to see your father-in-law. Which one is when? Cheng Jin. Oh my God, please rest. If you need anything, call the nurse. I'll leave first. Han Qian went out. It was still raining outside. He stood in front of the hospital, smoking a cigarette in a daze. What did his mother think? Could it be that he has given up treatment for his precious son? When his mind was in a mess, a beautiful figure came over holding an umbrella. Seeing this, Han Qian hurriedly threw away the cigarette in his hand, opened his arms and shouted humbly. Principal Tong. Stupid. Tong Yao's attitude towards Han Qian has not changed. Tong Monster handed the umbrella in his hand to Han Qian, who chuckled softly. I don't need an umbrella in such a light rain, so you can keep it. Tong Yao frowned and looked at Han Qian. I didn't use it for you. I asked you to put it away for me. It's inconvenient for me. Why are you inconvenienced? Having said that, Han Qian still took the umbrella, shook off the rainwater and folded it together. Tong Yao handed Han Qian an umbrella cover and said calmly. Believe it or not, I will take you to the men's department now to have the useless tissue removed from your body. What is that? The appendix. Foreskin. Han Qian was suddenly speechless, looking at the nursery rhyme helplessly and frowning. Why are you such a gangster? As he spoke, he handed the umbrella to Tanjeo, and the child monster snorted proudly. Then Han Qian leaned close to Tanjao's ear and whispered a question. Then Tanjao was so angry that he put down the thermos bucket and chased Han Qian with the umbrella. Han Qian threw his head back and laughed all the way. Nursery rhyme was a little tired, so he stood in the rain holding an umbrella and shouted to Han Qian, who was screaming. Brother Qian mom said that after being discharged from the hospital, she and dad would go to Sichuan to play. Han Qian turned around and said doubtfully. Just go. Nursery rhyme bent over and smiled with narrowed eyes. My home is in Sichuan. Sichuan. Han Qian was stunned for a moment, then trotted up to Tong Yao and said seriously. When did your family arrive in Sichuan? Then what? You go with me? Take my parents to meet your parents. Then when will we get the certificate? When will we have the child? What will the child be called? Monster Han? Tong Wudi. Call Han brainless. Go, go, stay away from me. You smell like cigarettes all over your body. I don't know what's so good about that stuff. Is mom sleeping? Sleep. I made dumplings for nothing. Give it to me. I won't feed the dog to you, so don't touch me. It's raining, squeeze in to warm up. Han Qian shamelessly squeezed under the umbrella. After having sex with Tong Yao twice, Han Qian already regarded this monster as his own. Tong Yao disliked Han Qian in every possible way. Then Tanjao simply stopped holding the umbrella, and Han Qian held up the umbrella and followed behind. Tanjao held the thermos bucket and looked at the ward with the lights turned off upstairs. She sighed quietly and walked to the car. As soon as Tanjao got in the car, Han Qian shamelessly, he sat in the passenger seat. Get down. I don't. Nursery rhymes. How long has it been since we two were intimate? Tong Yao frowned and looked at Han Qian, confused. Being affectionate? Why should I remember this? The feeling you gave me both times was so ordinary that it's not worth remembering at all. Han Qian turned to look at Nursery Rhyme seriously and said in a deep voice. You are lying. Nursery Rhyme shook her head slightly. I won't lie. Then let me kiss you. As he spoke, Han Qian leaned his head towards her, but was pushed away by Tong Yao. Han Qian leaned on the car door and looked at Tong Yao, who was sitting in the driver's seat. He was wearing loose light green casual pants and a goose yellow sweatshirt that looked like a long skirt. The rain-soaked face looked delicious, so Han Qian swallowed. Wow! I know you are shy, let me take the initiative. Han Qian came closer again. Snapped. Tong Yao slapped Han Qian on the forehead, and Han Qian leaned against the car door again. Han Qian smiled, then stretched out his hands to attack again, but unexpectedly Tong Yao got out of the car, stuck Tong Yao and walked around the front of the car. Outside the passenger door, Han Qian smiled. Hey, there's no room in the driver's seat, right? As he was talking, he flattened his chair, only to be dragged by a nursery rhyme and thrown out of the car. Watching the Maserati go away, Han Qian looked at the thermos bucket in his hand and chuckled. You even said you wouldn't give me a dog. Don't you still feel sorry for me? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 727. For half a month, Han Qian was stunned not to see Yates. After that night in the hotel, she seemed to have disappeared. Later, when he asked Wu Si-Quan, he found out that she had returned to the capital. It was said that she was going to a park blind date. Han Qian curiously sent a text message to Yates. How dare you go on a blind date without my permission? The text messages seemed to have disappeared into the sea, and Han Qian sent another one reluctantly. Have you changed your child's diaper? This time the call came directly, and Yates roared on the phone. Mr. Han, can you stop being so boring? I'm staying with my grandma. Ask grandma what she likes. I'll send it over now. Get lost. I'm in the capital now. If you have anything to do, go to Su Hongchang. Don't send me text messages. Okay. Where did you put the child's diaper? The call was immediately hung up. At this time, Nuan Nuan was also busy. He held the discharge procedures in his hand. His mother was discharged from the hospital. Then Nuan Nuan drove the old man straight to the village in the city. Nuan Nuan has been busy in the past half month. Bought a house here. This surprised Han Qian. The structure of the house is similar to that of his hometown, and the decoration in the yard is also the same. What shocked Han Qian most was that Huan Huan was here. Also in the yard was a little bitch. This little bitch Han Qian had seen before. It was the village in my son. I spend almost every day with Huan Huan. These were okay. Looking at the rooster and a group of pullets in the yard, Han Qian frowned. Why did you take all this stuff? And how do you deal with 2 dogs? Nuan Nuan squatted on the ground and touched the heads of the 2 dogs, smiling innocently. I went back to the village and asked, and it was this puppy that Huan Huan played with. I was afraid that Huan Huan would be bored when he came to the city by himself, so I bought it with money. I also bought these chickens if they were given to others. Killing and eating meat are all raised by our mother and have feelings. Isn't that my mother? When Qian's mother looked at Nuan Nuan, her eyes were filled with doting and she said softly. Xiao Nuan is the kindest girl. Han Qian curled his lips and said. I think I have nothing to do. Nuan Nuan glared at Han Qian. You care about me? Go, clean up the room, don't make trouble for me here. Our mother comes to live in the city and is close to us. If you bully me from now on, just go back to your in-laws' house. Han Qian curled his lips and said. I know you came here just for this, but I have to say, Mom. You have to live in the city for at least 3 years. You will probably be used to it by then. I'll find a room to sleep first. Old man, I want to eat. Cut off the meat. Dad, I want to eat crabs. Eat crawling shrimps. Han Qian walked into the house. The decoration was basically the same as that of a building. The heating was electric and the room was very warm. The east room was a tatami and the west room was a bed. Han Qian lay on the soft bed and fell asleep. He felt like he had just as he fell asleep, when Nuan lay beside him and nuzzled Han Qian's nose with his hair. Han Qian opened his eyes and looked at the pretty face close at hand and whispered. Do you have anything to do? When Nuan nodded, Han Qian narrowed his eyes and smiled. Come on, have a baby. Nuan Nuan said suspiciously. Which one of us will play midwife? Han Qian's brain short-circuited for a while, and then he pulled the quilt over his warm body. Sleep. Eat when you wake up. If you don't go home at night, someone will probably come to your door tomorrow, and running back and forth will cause trouble. I'm not sleepy. I woke up around 10 o'clock this morning. It's only 2 o'clock. Husband, don't go to sleep. I'll take you to play. Play what? Do you think the little hen in our yard can be stewed in one pot? I said no, let's try it. Seeing the excited warmth on her face, Han Qian pinched her cheek lovingly and smiled. My dear little Nuan Nuan, if your husband dares to kill chickens, will you eat crabs once every 6 months? When Nuan knocked off Han Qian's hand and whispered. I'm going to seduce Dad. As long as we cooperate inside and outside, we will be surrounded and suppressed on 3 sides. You eat crabs tonight. Oh. I forgot, Han Qian. I'm bored. What should we do? Han Qian stood up and sat cross-legged on the bed, stretched out his palm, and Nuan Nuan waved her hand. When she failed, she stretched out her palm. Within a minute, the girl angrily pressed Han Qian on the bed, sat on Han Qian's belly and said angrily. I've never seen such a straight man like you. Can't you just let me order? Han Qian said with a bitter smile. You insist on playing. You hit me every time I get beaten. Do you blame me for your slow reaction? Then you can't hit me. You have to pamper your wife and love your wife. Your wife is the sky and your wife is the earth. You can't call your wife stupid or hit your wife. She is the person who loves you the most. Wen Nuan bent down and kissed Han Qian's forehead. Han Qian hugged Wen and lay sideways on the bed, saying softly, "Your wife has been praying for almost 500 days, right? This is an unequal treaty. Han Qian, it seems you didn't give me any gift. Aren't I making up for you now? Changxiang will be my gift to make up for you." "I don't want it." "Han Qian, what do you think the bear paw tastes like? We've never eaten it." Han Qian was stunned and spoke out of nowhere. "Why are your pectoralis major muscles so exaggerated?" Then Han Qian was beaten again. He laughed while being beaten, explained that bear paws should not be eaten, laughed and played around. After a while, Han Qian felt a little tired. He sat on the bed, held his long hair in his hands, and asked Han Qian, "Have you ever seen the propeller of a submarine?" Han Qian shook his head, and then the girl grabbed her hair and started spinning around, and Han Qian couldn't help laughing. "My little ancestor, are you dizzy?" Nuan raised his head and nodded vigorously with his big eyes wide open. "We really prepared crabs and pork belly for dinner." After dinner, Wen Nuan ran over to check her mother-in-law's blood pressure. Han Qian was lying in the west room watching cartoons on Nuan Wen's computer. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Gao Xing'ai called. "Master Han, the fish has bitten the hook." Han Qian put down his notebook and said softly, "How much bait do you want?" Gao Xing'ai said in a deep voice, 500 million. If you really dare to speak, tell him that if he dares to ask for it, we dare to give it to him. I really hope that he can get more. I can wear him down with just the interest. In addition, I can tell him to pledge shares or the company." Lin Mengdelin and Lin Zongheng are listening. "I've never heard of it. Have you told him who the boss behind you is?" "I told you, it's a boss in Macau." "Who is it?" "He thinks about it himself." "How much can we give?" Han Qian frowned, thought for a while, and said softly, "Calculating 27% of the shares at a price of 90%, and calculating all the shares in Linmen's hands at a price of 70%, 1/3 of the shares will be returned to each other for 3 months, and will be converted into shares after expiration. To settle the account, don't let Lin Zongheng sign, only see Lin Mend." Gao Xingyun hesitated slightly and whispered, "What if he doesn't borrow it?" "Don't worry. Even if he doesn't borrow it the first time, he will come to you in a few days. Don't give him any steps. If he doesn't succeed the first time, let your people go to see Luo Shen or Lu Guangming with great fanfare and make a big deal." "A fake contract," Nuan came in, "I won't tell you any more." Han Qian hung up the phone hurriedly, and Nuan rushed over, questioningly. "Which vixen are you talking to on the phone?" Han Qian smiled softly with warmth in his arms. "Highly fulfilled call. You two, don't play together. He's not a good guy, you're not a good guy either. I'm full, so you go out with me for a walk." "I don't go." "Mom." "I'll go." "Who did you learn this skill of complaining from? Can you be of some use?" Han Qian got out of bed and put on his clothes, shrugged warmly and said softly, "I have a mother-in-law, why don't I file a complaint? This marriage seems to be divorced, but it seems that it is not divorced." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 728. Han Qian just took Wenwen for a lap in the park. When Han Qian was about to run the second lap, he found that Wenwen was missing and there was no one around. He called and found out that the girl had secretly taken a taxi home halfway. Angrily asked her if she can't exercise. The girl replied that the crabs at home would go bad if they were not eaten. Han Qian reluctantly hung up the phone and jogged a few times before running all the way back to the house. It was already dark when he entered the hospital. The old man stood at the door and told Han Qian that come and take a rest early. A quiet night. Early the next morning, while Han Qian and Nuan were still sleeping in bed, the old man had already gotten up, cleaned the yard, prepared hot water and breakfast, and was waiting for the two children to get up. Han Qian picked up the bowl, and Nuan sat at the dining table with sleepy eyes, feeling confused. 3,000 blue hairs seemed to have exploded. He was now as sloppy as he was, but in the eyes of Qian's mother, warmth was the cutest thing. When Qian's mother picked up a bowl and fed Nuan some porridge, Han Qian looked at Nuan's head and frowned. You don't have long hands. As soon as he finished speaking, Qian's mother's chopsticks sat on Han Qian's head. Xiao Nuan was woken up by you before she woke up. How dare you say that? Han Qian leaned back while holding the bowl and pouted. Just pamper me. Now that you can't take care of yourself in this life, why do you still pamper me? Go away, don't I love my daughter-in-law? The healthy Qian's mother didn't have a good temper towards Han Qian at all. When Han Qian stood up to prepare the meal, Cai Qinghu jumped into the yard. Today, Cai Qian wore a slim white suit and a pair of high heels. With light steps and long hair tied behind her head, Madame Cai is very neatly dressed today. Looking at Madame Cai, who was exquisitely dressed, she looked at the warmth of rice sticking to the corner of her mouth. Han Qian sighed weakly, stretched out his hand to pinch the rice grains around Nuan's mouth, put it into his mouth, and sighed. A lot of people will come to see our mother today. Are you going to dress up? Nuan turned to look at Cai Qinghu, and then said. Isn't she coming? I don't like talking to people. I went back to the house to sleep after dinner. While he was talking, Cai Qinghu had already walked into the living room and called Qian's mother sweetly. Nuan turned his head and squinted at Cai Qinghu and said lightly. If you can't stop your mouth, eat something. This is my mother. Cai Qinghu sat down at the dining table unceremoniously, picked up the bun, took a bite, and said vaguely. I do not mind. After saying this, he turned to look at Qian's mother, narrowed his eyes and smiled. Mom, do you mind me? I haven't had a mother since I was a child, and I don't know what it feels like. Qian's mother added a piece of meat and put it on Madame Cai's buns, and said with a smile. I have such a beautiful daughter. After saying this, he touched Nuan's head again. This lovely daughter-in-law, with you here, I must have done a lot of good deeds in my previous life. Cai Qinghu looked at Wen Nuan provocatively. The latter gulped down porridge and didn't take Cai Qinghu seriously at all. In Wen Nuan's understanding, she was just playing with a few girls to kill boring time. Little Phoenix believed that her status was even if the King of Heaven comes, I can't shake it. Madame Cai didn't care what Wen Nuan thought at all. 9 o'clock sharp. The Han family welcomed the first wave of guests. Lu Guangming, Wu Siguan, Luo Shanda, and Gao Zixi came together. As expected, Wen Nuan was hiding in the west room and couldn't come out. Qian's mother was sitting on the sofa and saying hello with a smile, and Cai Qinghu sat on the left and right. And Yan Qingqing. Lu Guangming put down the gift in his hand and laughed. Old madam, you must take good care of your health in the future. I have been wanting to see you since you were hospitalized, but I was worried that it would disturb your rest. I didn't disturb you by coming here today. Yan Qingqing introduced Lu Guangming's identity to Qian's mother's ear. Qian's mother was slightly surprised after hearing this, and suppressed her curiosity and chuckled. Dr. Lu, you're so polite. Sit down quickly. Sit down. Everyone is sitting down. Xiao Qian, please go make some tea. Where has this traitor gone at this moment? As soon as he said this, a strange man ran out of the door, carrying a pot of tea and placing it on the coffee table, saying respectfully, "Old madam, my name is Su Hongchang, and I am Mr. Han's driver. You can just call me Xiao Su." Qian's mother nodded with a somewhat unnatural expression. At this time, Wu Siquan took out a small box from his bag and put it on the table, saying softly, "Auntie, after you were hospitalized, I went to the temple and begged you for a piece of warm jade." Qian's mother looked at the light yellow jade pendant with some hesitation. At this time, Cai Qinghu squeezed Qian's mother's hand and signaled that she would accept it. Qian's mother took a deep breath and said softly, "Excuse me, Xiao Siguan." Wu Siguan said quickly, "No trouble, no trouble. Brother Qian'er takes good care of me." Gao Fulai and Luo Shanda also sent their condolences. The positions of the four of them are very interesting. Lu Guangming is closest to Qian's mother, followed by Wu Siguan. Gao Fulai and Luo Shanda seem to have arranged it intentionally. The four of them chatted with Qian's mother. Qian's mother asked about what her son was doing in the city. The four of them concealed it intentionally or unintentionally. Yan Qingqing and Cai Qinghu didn't interrupt, but just stayed with Qian'er. "Mom." Su Hongchang had been standing at the door, waiting for the old lady's order. As for Han Qian, he had already gone to the park to play Tai Chi with the old man. After running yesterday, he felt something was wrong with his body and wanted to exercise. At home, Lu Guangming boasted about how great Han Qian was in the city, and Qian's mother was at a loss for a while. In the West House, Nuan was lying in front of the window looking at his father-in-law who was squatting in the yard to build a kennel. As an unprofessional commander and an unprofessional carpenter, the kennel was a failure. The old man asked Nuan softly if he wanted to buy it. 1. When Nuan smiled and said that the handmade ones looked more friendly. When Nuan curiously asked her father-in-law why he didn't go in to chat with them. The old man glanced at the living room and said softly, "Same as you, I don't know what to talk to them about. It's enough that your mother is there." Oh. Nuan closed the window and lay on the bed and started watching dramas. As long as a otaku could do it, Nuan could do anything. Not long after, the second wave of guests came. Tu Xiao came with his daughter and Li Jiayi. When little Tu Kun came in, he called Yan Qingqing auntie and then ran to the back of the sofa to Qian'er. Mom squeezed her shoulders, called grandma one after another, and introduced her father and boyfriend familiarly. Li Jiayi was very obedient and served tea and water, which made Su Hongchang seem to have lost his value. Qian'er's mother was familiar with the two children. She asked about Jiayi's grades and praised Tu Kun for becoming more beautiful. Tu Kun wanted to sit next to Qian'er's mother. Cai Qinghu looked at Tu Kun with a cold face. As for Yan Qingqing, she didn't dare to grab it. Tu Xiao brought some supplements and sat on the sofa chatting with Lu Guangming. From their chat, Qian'er's mother got some understanding of Han Qian's affairs in the city. Playing some tricks behind the scenes, this bastard made up a network to connect some big guys in the city, and used the east wall as an example to demolish the west wall. And he seems to be doing well in the city. Before Tu Xiao's butt was warm, Cheng Jin and Luo Shen walked in the door together. When they saw Luo Shen, Cai Qinghu whispered, "This woman is the Luo Shen I told you about. She is a very purposeful woman. I don't like her. Now she is relying on my husband." Qian'er's mother held Qinghu's hand, stood up and smiled. "Mayor Chen, please take the time to make a phone call. You make me feel. I'm passing by to see you. Please pay attention to your health so that Han Qian can work with peace of mind. You must also pay attention to rest for the sake of your child." Qian'er's mother smiled, and then Cheng Jin kicked Tu Xiao's calf. The local emperor in the 8th district stood up and gave up his position reluctantly. People in the room had a common topic, and that was discussing Han Qian. At noon, this criminal came back leisurely with 2 pots of flowers in his hands. He walked into the house and looked at the people in the room. Not only was this guy not surprised, he casually handed the 2 pots of flowers to Su Hongchang and said with a smile, "Are you all here? You guys were chatting while I..." Seeing that Han Qian was about to leave again, Luo Shen and Gao Xiaoxing stood up at the same time and said in unison, "Wait. Don't go." Han Qian tilted his head and smiled at the 2 of them. "What's the matter? My dear, Luo Shen, please wait for now. Vice President Gao, let's go out and chat. Brother Lu, Si Guan, and Lao Luo, why don't you come too?" Qian's mother discovered a more important problem. The relationship seemed not as simple as she thought. They and Han Qian did not seem to be a simple cooperative relationship. From the performance point of view, they were more like superiors and subordinates. This little bastard. In the yard, Han Qian and the 4 people were chatting about the underground bank. Han Qian took out cigarettes and distributed them to several people. Wu Sijuan took out a lighter and lit it for Han Qian, then threw the lighter to Luo Shanda. Gao Xingcheng whispered, "Now the Lin family is interested in contacting him, but they are worried that our background is not clean, and they are also worried that if we find out that he is short of money, he will not be able to shame himself, and he will behave like a bitch." Han Qian laughed after hearing this. "It's normal. If this old bastard said 500 million, it means he was testing us. I thought about it last night. If we gave him 500 million, he would definitely not take it away, because it would be a trap too easily. Don't worry, I will ask Luoshan to prepare some action soon. You don't need to contact the Lin family, just continue to put pressure on Tang Wei. The Lin family's fall will be a matter of time, and you can choose the benefits you need now." After the words came out, Lu Guangming said quickly, "No. I don't want anything. What I'm most worried about right now is that you will kill the donkey with one trick. My donkey is quite happy." Han Qian smiled bitterly. "You guys. Have I, Han Qian, ever lied to you?" Gao Xingcheng's eyes were full of resentment, and Han Qian scratched his head in embarrassment. Okay, I promise not to lie to you. Go back and rest, and tell Luo Shen to come out. You two must be careful what you say in front of my mother. You must not say that I am playing tricks in the city." Several people nodded, and Han Qian just turned around and saw Nuan with half of his body exposed at the window. Tisk, 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 Brother Qian, you are quite insidious. It seems that no one except the cute and invincible beautiful girl Wen Nuan believes in you. Han Qian curled his lips and said, "My mother? Don't worry. Our mother doesn't believe you either." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 729. Those around Han Qian insisted on organizing a party for his mother to be discharged from the hospital. The old man didn't like crowded places. Qian's mother couldn't accept the enthusiasm for a while, so she simply pushed away and the matter ended. When Nuan and Han Qian sent the old couple to the airport. They were going out to relax, which was a good thing for Han Qian. At least he didn't have to meet the parents of several girls in Binhai City. Nuan took his mother to prepare the air tickets. Han Qian and the old man stood at the main entrance outside the airport smoking cigarettes. Han Qian lowered his head and whispered, "Old man, what did my mother and the 2 elders of the Yan family say?" The old man glanced at Han Qian and chuckled. The chat was not pleasant. "Your mother made it clear. It's not that Ching Ching is not good enough, but that Xiao Nuan showed up earlier and told the old couple of the Yan family that they would not agree to Xiao Nuan's separation from you. Now your mother, I don't know about your divorce yet, no one has told her." Han Qian raised his head and whispered, A fight? My mother's personality shouldn't allow us to quarrel, right? The old man chuckled. No. It's not like there was a quarrel. Ching Ching was not present at the time. The Yan family means that we don't care about you and they don't care about Ching Ching. The two children can make their own decisions. But your mother means that they can get along with each other, but they still have to look at the warmth. I mean, if Xiaonuan minded, then no one can say anything. Anyway, this meeting was very unpleasant, and the Yan family didn't say anything in the end. Han Qian sighed feebly and whispered again. Then what did you say when you met Cheng Jin? I said some things, but I can't be your boss, nor can I be your mother's boss. Even if he talks nonsense, I can't understand it. I know you are capable now, and I can't control you. I can't control you. Let's think about it and decide. Then why are you two going to Sichuan? Tell Tong Yao's parents that you are married. If there is a good family, please introduce Tong Yao to her. Han Qian raised his head and frowned at the old man, saying angrily. Are you too sick? The old man shrugged, threw away the cigarette butt and laughed. It's up to the doctor whether you are sick or not. You don't have to say anything about this. We are not going to say that we won't let this girl have contact with you. We are just explaining some unchangeable facts clearly. This will also be good for when I have an explanation with Li Jinhe, son. You are shameless and your parents still want you. How can you say that you are divorced and living together and still flirting with young girls all over the world? This is unjustifiable. I see that you two didn't go over to express your position, but to apologize, right? I am responsible for apologizing, and your mother is responsible for expressing her position. Is there a conflict? What's wrong with you? I'll check it out. The conversation between father and son can be said to be unique in the world. Han Qian didn't act like a son, and the old man didn't have the seriousness like a father. The father and son were more like friends, talking about everything, and there was nothing in the conversation. Obstacle. Watching his mother and old man go to check-in and board the plane, Han Qian sighed helplessly. In fact, this was good. Let them explain the matter clearly. If Han Qian couldn't bear to be ruthless, let them be ruthless. Nuanuan stood next to Han Qian, holding the McLaren car keys in his hand and said calmly. Mom just told me that if you make me suffer, Dad will beat you to death. Han Qian turned around and smiled. A gold medal to avoid death. This is called a yellow Mandarin code plus Shangfang's sword, and what's more. What is your plan for Changxiang? I won't tell you. Where have you stayed these past few days? What about the chickens and dogs? I bought an automatic dog food machine. I bought a bag of corn kernels and threw them in the yard. I'm going to work. You can go and play by yourself. After saying that, Wen Nuan turned around and left, leaving Han Qian standing in a daze at the entrance of the airport. After thinking for a while, he called Su Hongchang and asked him to come and pick him up. On the plane, the old man looked around unnaturally. This was different from the planes he watched on TV. This chair, this cabin, this service, this catering are all different from what you see on TV. It is not as crowded as it is on TV, and it is very spacious, and there are very few seats. The people sitting here are all successful people in suits and ties. In comparison, the clothes of the old man and Qian's mother can be described as shabby. The old man stood over his head, glanced at his wife, and said softly, "Isn't this flight cheap?" Qian's mother nodded and said softly. Xiaonuan said it was first class. The environment was quieter than the economy class and the service was better. I don't know much about this. The air ticket was booked by Xiao Hu. The old man said oh, and then the flight attendant came over to ask about the two of them. Uncle and aunt, what would you like to drink? The old man asked for a glass of water, Qian's mother didn't ask for anything, and the flight attendant continued to talk. Uncles and aunts can ring the bell at any time if they need anything, or just call the stewardess directly. If aunt feels uncomfortable, remember to inform us. MSCAI has repeatedly told us to pay attention to aunt's health. As a platinum member of the flight, CAI Kinghu's influence in this cabin is greater than that of Nuan Nuan and others. Chienner's mother smiled and shook her head, and the stewardess got up and left. I'm really not used to this kind of half-kneeling service. After the stewardess left, Chienner's mother closed her eyes and sighed. Hey! I really like these little girls. Not to mention our Xiaonuan, but the two children Qinghu and Qing Qing. I really like them, especially Qinghu. Hey! Now that I think of this Tuzi, I'm so angry all over the place. Is it because we neglected our discipline? The old man chuckled. I feel that my son is quite promising. What's wrong with good boys being liked by girls? Isn't this what it should be? Chienner's mother turned to look at the old man and said calmly. Xiaonuan told me once, not taking the initiative, not refusing, not resisting is the status quo of this traitor. Excellent. How do you think he is excellent? Now when we go to Sichuan, we will apologize in addition to apologizing. Even if we are scolded, we should be scolded. It's up to the parents to take care of this, and the rest will be left to this bastard to have a headache on his own. Oh! Old Han, I have a headache. The old man pinched his chin and said suspiciously. Say. What if you say that Xiao Qian and Xiao Nuan have always been together, but our first grandson or granddaughter is not Xiao Nuan's child? Chienner's mother turned to glare at the old man and said angrily. Don't you think I have enough headaches? I don't want to give you a headache. I feel that it is really possible. Xiaonuan is so stupid that she doesn't know how to have a child to tie up the rabbit. Several other girls are brewing this idea. You forgot what the poem said in the future. When I had a child, I asked if we could help take care of him. He said that the child he wanted to raise was exactly the same as his father. Chienner's mother slapped the old man on the shoulder several times and said angrily. I see why you are so full of expectations. I'm anxious to hold my grandson. Chienner's mother sighed, and then the steward came over and said softly. Auntie. Miss Cai asked me to ask you if you feel uncomfortable. Also, please remember to turn on your mobile phone after you get off the plane. The driver will contact you. Miss Cai wants to have a video call with you, but, on the plane it's not allowed. Chienner's mother took a deep breath and smiled. Excuse me. No trouble, no trouble. The steward left slightly nervously. They were all very familiar with MSCAI Qinghu. It could be said that the flight attendants at the airport were all familiar with each other. MSCAI, who often traveled around the country on planes with Wu Qingxi, was a rare benefactor. The most important thing is that MSCAI used her magical power without knowing where to use the ground crew's communication equipment to talk to the captain. There seems to be no problem in this world that money cannot solve. Cai Qinghu may be lucky or unlucky. In short, she did not encounter the problems that other girls encountered. She shook her head and skipped out of the airport. She bought a glass of water and squatted under a tree while looking at her mobile phone and thinking about life. Another amount of money was recorded. Ah! It's so annoying. After dialing Han Qian's number, Lady Cai curled her lips and said aggrievedly. MS Sir, what should I do if I don't have enough money to spend? You give me. Okay. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 730. Some people struggle with how to spend all their money and become a pauper, so that they have a reason to stay by their husband's side and be taken care of. Some people have a splitting headache because of money. Lin Mend is an example. The mysterious shareholder appeared. He was a Hong Kong man. He entered the company's board of directors with 21% of the shares. The first thing he did was to check the company's financial information. After Lin Mend, who became the chairman again, declined, this person did not give up, but told Lin Mend that he would send a paperwork application to the company and that he suspected there was something wrong with the company's accounts. 15 days to apply. He also told Lin Mend that he must solve the company's water problem within 15 days, and that he needed to make up for the whole of 300 million. Lin Mend looked at the business card in his hand, hesitated for a long time and dialed the other party's number. Now even if there was a trap, he would jump in, get the money, mortgage the house in Dongcheng, and solve the immediate trouble first. Lin Mend also knew that there was something wrong with this new shareholder, and even said that he was definitely the person sent by Luo Shen to take revenge. Not only did he need the 300 million, he also needed a sum of money to purchase the shares from this shareholder. The offer was 300 million, and the other party did not hesitate at all. The money could be given, but it required a mortgage. They would not take away the mortgage, but if the debt was not repaid in 3 months, they would liquidate it. Everything is clear. Lin Mend hesitated when the other party proposed that he could only mortgage 90%, but the other party also had his own concerns. Now you have more enemies to enjoy. If the company's performance still declines, they will be the ones losing money. You can ask for money, you can give it at any time. Lin Mend hesitated again. He suddenly regretted the quarrel with the Wen family. If Wen Shu was here, it would not be so difficult for him. The old scholar's head is much more flexible than his. Lin Mend put his hands on his forehead and asked the secretary to prepare. He wanted to fight with this underground bank. Meet the person in charge. Accompanying the secretary were Lin Zongheng and Tang Wei. Lin Zongheng was sitting in the passenger seat and said softly, "Dad, why don't you take the money from the bank? Now the bank won't give it to you." Lin Mend frowned and replied, "Anyone can check the money taken from the bank. Not too many people know about this matter. Now someone is stumbling on us behind the scenes. Not surprisingly, it's Han Jian and Luo Shen. You did these things to Luo Shen. Luo Shen, it's strange that there's been no movement at home, so be careful lately." "I know, Dad." Lin Zongheng's father is what Han Jian and Lu Shenge despise the most. Among the three of them, Lao Lu died in the hands of his son. The old man and Han Jian were friends, but Lin Zongheng was the only one who looked like an unweaned child. Like a baby. It was time to make a deal with Lin Mend. Wu Sijuan, who was having lunch with her boyfriend at school, received the call. She nodded and agreed. After hanging up the phone, her boyfriend asked curiously, "Are you going to be busy again?" Wu Siquan dragged his chin with both hands, and his boyfriend picked up a piece of meat and fed it to Wu Siquan. He was 4 years younger than Wu Siquan. He was only in his early 20s, and he was relatively simple. His first love fell into the hands of Wu Siquan. Wu Siquan ate the meat and sighed. "There's nothing to be busy about. I only do 2 things a day now. The first is to wait for Jian's instructions on the 24th, and the second is to worry about the business of the street lamps in Yashai Pavilion." As soon as he finished speaking, Wu Sijuan reached out and touched his little boyfriend's head, narrowed his eyes and smiled. "Xiao Ran Ran, you should grow up quickly. When the time comes, my sister will find a gentle and beautiful girlfriend for you." After saying the words, the little boyfriend's face showed a bit of loneliness, and he lowered his head and whispered, "Why won't you marry me?" Wu Siquan patted her boyfriend's head again and smiled. "I thought you were young. After dinner, my sister will take you to the amusement park." "No, I have classes in the afternoon. If you don't get it, if my sister has money, she will buy you an A to chase." The little boyfriend raised his head, frowned and smiled. "I really have a class to attend, why don't you go to class with me?" Wu Siquan tilted his head, thought for a while, and said softly, "If you carry me, I can consider it." Can I carry you on my back? Hold. You think I'm too heavy? Wu Si-Quan frowned and said angrily, and her boyfriend patted his belly and whispered with a frown on his face. I'm full. After leaving the cafeteria, the boyfriend was walking around the campus with Wu Sijuan on his back. The boyfriend whispered that he was also learning to smoke, and then Wu Sijuan slapped him on the forehead and said angrily, "No smoking. I think brother Chiener is quite handsome when he smokes. He is him, and you are you. He is about to collapse from torture all day long. In addition to studying, you accompany me every day. There is no pressure. Don't you like playing games? I can buy you the best one. Game notebook, but you can't smoke. I don't want to play games anymore. Quit. There's no future in playing games. It's better to study hard and then help you after graduation. I'll be old when you graduate. How about we get married? Do you have a bride price? Do you have a house? Have you bought a car? Are you trying to deceive your wife? You are shameless." Wu Sijuan and her boyfriend were enjoying a leisurely afternoon. As long as Lin Men took the money today, their affairs would come to an end. During class, Wu Sijuan received a call from Yates. Yates asked if Han Chien had had convulsions recently. Will she be beaten when she returns to Binhai City? Wu Si-Quan gave her a clear answer. You will definitely be beaten when you come back after what you did. And if you don't come back, Su Hongchang will take your place. Yates sat on the train, holding his mobile phone and saying feebly. Then am I in a dilemma? I'm on my way back, and you come to pick me up at North Station. Let Wanfang pick you up. I'm busy dating. If you're afraid of getting beaten, can I help you find out what's going on? Forget it. It's just one knife anyway, no matter how many times it is. Han Chien started to go to work again, and life seemed to have returned to calm, but there was an undercurrent surging behind the scenes. Lin Men got the money and was preparing to erase what he had done, and Niu Qiudong worked hard to clean up anything related to him. Lu Shenga is busy looking for a traitor, and Luo Shen is trying his best to suppress Chang Xiang. Now Luo Shen holds a pair of Wang Jia in his hands. If she uses the two trump cards well, she will completely collapse the Lin family in Binhai City. If she uses them at the wrong time, she will lose the chance to inherit the Luo family. Her younger brother will be helped to take power, and then he will be ignored by the relatives who did it. It is not Luo Shen who decides when to use this pair of princes, but Mr. Han, who has nothing. Now everyone knows that Changrong is just a place where Han Chien gave too much warmth, a refuge from Chang Xiang. His target is the entire Chang Xiang group. If anyone robs him at this time, then who will become him of enemies? Luo Shen did not dare to gamble on this matter. Han Qian's purpose of getting closer to Lu Shengyu in the capital was to constrain Luo Shen, and to get closer to Luo Fu was also to constrain Lu Shenga. Han Qian never gave up plotting against anyone around him. Some of the girls were also included in his plan. Of course, he would not cause any harm to them. The same could not be said for others, especially Gao Jingcheng and Lu Guangming. The personal thread is the one that Han Qian holds tightest. The two of them can only find ways to get closer to Han Qian, because this thread has little endurance and may break at any time. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I received the news that the money had been transferred to Lin Ment, and he pledged 15% of the shares. Luo Shanda asked someone to inquire. Now Lin Ment is still the largest shareholder of the company, and asked what should be done next. Han Qian told them that they didn't need to do anything. Now anyone can borrow money, as long as there is a mortgage. In addition, they can make use of Tang Wei. It is best to let him get some evidence about Lin Ment. As long as he can do it, any amount of money can be given. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian didn't even know the name of the guy on the phone. He had spoken to him several times. When Han Qian got up to get off work, he received a text message from Xiaowu's shoes. Yates is back. At North Station. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 731. Run. Keep running. You must run faster. On the road, Yates was jogging on the road wearing a thick cotton jacket and snow boots. Alexis followed him. Han Qian was driving with a cigarette in his mouth. Yates was breathing steadily as he ran. When he was running away, he didn't forget to send a message to scold Yu Shisai and Wan Fang, two bad friends. If they didn't help, he would forget it. He also punished the god of plague. Han Qian opened the car window and shouted to Yates. Yeah, this is about 15 kilometers away from the city. I calculated that if you go at your current speed, you may need to run for 4 hours. Yates ignored Han Qian and continued jogging. Gradually, snowflakes fell from the sky. Snowing. The first snow of the year has come. Han Qian stretched out his hand to catch the snowflakes that fell on his palm and couldn't help but speak. The first snow in 2002. Yates suddenly stopped and turned to look at Han Qian. Mr. Han, can you act like a young man? 10 years have passed since 2002. I'm not young to begin with. You run your course and I'll sing mine. Yates snorted and continued running, and Han Qian started singing loudly. There is a beautiful little girl, her name is Zai. She has a pair of not too big eyes. Yates turned to look at Han Qian, stepped forward, took off his eyes and gritted his teeth at Han Qian's face. My eyes are not small. Trojan horse. You bastard. Why did you kiss me? I didn't kiss you, I kissed Snowflake. Yates walked around the front of the car and sat in the passenger seat, glaring at Han Qian, who locked the door and smiled lightly. Didn't you have a lot of fun in the hotel? Today I will show you what Fenjujing feels like. The Lexus drove away. Yates wrapped himself up in the car like a rice dumpling, and then began to rummage around in the car. Finally, he groped around Han Qian's body. After confirming that there were no crime tools, Yates breathed a sigh of relief. Then Han Qian said that when he went to buy it, Yates quickly took away all the money from Han Qian. The car stopped at the door of the bar. Han Qian asked Yates if he wanted to go in for a drink. Yates shrugged. The two walked into the bar side by side, sat in front of the bar and ordered 2 glasses of wine. Just as Han Qian was about to pick up the glass, Yates stretched out his hand to grab it and told the waiter to give him a cup of green tea. Han Qian chuckled softly. What? Are you afraid that I might drink too much and do something bad to you? I haven't been very horny lately. Yates put his left leg on his right leg and said calmly while holding a wine glass while wearing a slightly bulky down jacket. I'm afraid I'll molest you when I'm drunk. If you're not hungry, I'll be a little lonely. Han Qian chuckled. If you say that, I won't feel sleepy anymore. Yates curled his lips. I don't want to eat anything. You should still work on your body. Can you take the initiative to bring me to drink? Is the matter in Binhai City coming to an end? What did your mother say? What did my mother say? At this time, the manager of the bar came over and said softly. Master Han, Miss Ye, can I find a private room for you two? Han Qian said nothing. Yates waved his hand. No, let's have a drink and leave. Since you know him, make him a pot of tea. If you have nothing to do, don't come over and disturb him. Okay. The manager left. Han Qian said doubtfully. What's wrong with my mother? Yan Qingqing and Cai Qinghu have already begun to force the mother to have a baby, but there is no response from the Wen family. This is very strange. Or does it mean that your mother doesn't know that you are divorced? It was this matter again. Han Qian sighed helplessly and said helplessly. How could you not know? My mother's brain is much better than mine. I guess she should have known it for a long time. Cai King Hu and Yan Qingqing did force the uterus, but my mother's attitude is that she doesn't know anything. She looks like my son and my daughter-in-law are living very well. My daughter-in-law now calls me mom, Li Jinhe calls me my mother-in-law, and I won't believe or listen to the rest of what you say. Yates curled his lips and smiled. Didn't they throw you into a pit? Your mother is so decisive and decisive. She wants to keep you warm even if she abandons you. This is an explanation for my father-in-law and mother-in-law. It is reasonable and reasonable. It is necessary to meet the other parent's parents. This is also etiquette. It is okay to sit down and chat, but if you want to talk about the future of the two children, there is no way. It looks like the old lady who was the head of the house in ancient times. Oh, this is the reason why I haven't brought my mother over. It's easy to talk to someone with a kind face and kind eyes. If you think about it carefully, if she was really kind and kind-hearted, how could she treat my father and us so honestly? Hey. What can I say? No money. It doesn't matter what you say, once you are rich, my mother will be the Lafayette of this family. Looking at Han Qian's appearance, Yates smiled again. Don't make up the story behind your back. I don't deny your judgment, but we can all see what kind of character your mother is. She treats you like salt and treats girls like sugar. Are you afraid that I will stick to you? Do you think your future husband can accept my 24 indiscriminate calls? Do you think I need to go to Yan Qingqing to apologize? Yates looked Han Qian up and down and said softly. Going to book a room. Han Qian closed his eyes and shook his head. I'm really not in the mood right now, and I don't believe you are simply asking for a room. Did your mother ask about us when you returned to the capital this time? Asked. What did you say? We broke up. I said you can't be humane. My mother said you would go on a blind date for me. Han Qian stood up and left. Yates hurriedly took out the banknotes and put them on the bar, picked up his bag and chased him out. In just a few dozen minutes, the ground was covered with a layer of white snow. Han Qian squatted on the ground and kneaded a snowball. In Yates's surprised eyes, the guy smashed the snowball on his face. Crazy. Calm down, or I'll beat you to death. Drive home by yourself, and if you get caught, I'll go to the police to catch you. After saying this, Han Qian took a taxi home. After Yates said this, Han Qian realized that he was betrayed by his mother. The King Hu side was fine, but the Asha Empress side, there were also child monsters. Han Qian felt horrified just thinking about it, and he didn't blame anything. It's your own fault. When I got home, I found that Wen Nuan was not there. After calling, I found out that Li Jinhe had taken her away. It seemed that my mother and mother-in-law had also talked about these things. Lying weakly on the bed and looking at the ceiling, Han Qian felt that something was a little strange when he thought about how he hadn't seen Ji Jing and Yan Qingqing in the past 2 days. Wen family. Li Jinhe sat on the sofa, Nuan sat opposite with a small stool, and Li Jinhe spoke. When are you and Han Qian going to get married again? Nuan raised his head and asked doubtfully. Why remarry? Isn't it good now? Li Jinhe frowned and looked at Nuan, wondering. Is your mind full of mush? Can't you see how fiercely these girls are pursuing Han Qian now? Your mother-in-law and I have already talked about it. She owes a lot for not taking good care of her son. And I hope you will not leave Han Qian and always be the daughter-in-law of the Han family. I do. Seeing his daughter's useless appearance, Li Jinhe frowned and said angrily. Can you be of some use? I don't, so I want to be with Han Qian. He has promise. It's okay not to remarry. You two are planning to have a child. Li Jinhe's tone was calm, but when it fell on Wen Nuan's ears, he exploded. He stood up and shouted loudly. I don't. I'm still a child. Han Qian still has to take care of me. I don't want to have children. I will become ugly after having children. And I'm only 27, 26, 25 years old. I'm only 25. I don't want to have children. What Nuan fears most now is the word birth. Li Jinhe frowned at Nuan and said angrily. Why does it feel like it's killing you to have a child? When you give birth to a child, an old man will take care of it for you. You should work. You two continue to live in a world of two. How can it affect you? Oh. You don't have to worry about Han Qian and I's affairs. In the past, you said that Lin Zongheng was not good, so I ignored him. Now you are taking care of Han Qian and I's affairs. You don't have to worry about our affairs. If he lied to me, I am willing to be a fool. I am going home. Bye. Just as Nuan was about to leave, Li Jinhe grabbed him by the collar and threw him on the sofa. He picked up his slippers and pointed at Nuan. Are you shouting something to me? Nuan said angrily. Just yelled. What happened? Bang bang bang. The slippers fell on the warm butt like raindrops. At 11 o'clock in the middle of the night, Han Qian received a warm call. Husband. Wow, my mother hit me, come and save me. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 732. After going to his mother-in-law's house, not only was he unable to save Wen Nuan, Han Qian was almost beaten. On the way home while holding Wen's hand, Han Qian suddenly let go of his hand and performed a set of 5 whips on the road. Wen watched dumbfounded. Han Qian. As for what? I didn't say anything about these things. Why are you so upset? What my mother said is what my mother said. What your mother said is what your mother said. Living with you is warmth and warmth. Not two moms. I don't have any requirements for you, just go home, take a shower, and sleep. Han Qian stared at Wen Nuan with wide eyes. Why is this girl so cute? The life of the general department is becoming more and more difficult. The salary is already the highest in the company, and the workload has also increased. Everyone is very busy. Han Qian has also been arrested by Yang Lan to handle the work. Qianwan held a stack of documents and placed them on Han Qian's desk. The corners of Han Qian's eyes twitched slightly. Big Qian, don't tell me that this is all my job. Qianwan smiled and shook his head. No. Han Qian breathed a sigh of relief, and then De Qian's words made Han Qian lie weakly on the table. This is the job that Mr. Yan has given you and me. Qianwan seemed a little embarrassed at this, scratched his head and smiled. Brother Qian'er, you know, I don't know anything but I will be your assistant here. I can still serve tea and pour water. Ignoring Qianwan, Han Qian took a file bag, which was a document sent by the marketing department. When he opened it and looked at the 1 centimeter thick Honor Furniture Plaza document, Han Qian felt bad. Isn't this a plan that has ended? How could it still be delivered? Han Qian turned his head and glanced at Qianwan blankly, knowing that asking her was useless. He read page after page, and most of them were useless nonsense. The last few pages only talked about the key points, but it was of no use. Han Qian handed the document to Qianwan. When he took the second copy, it was from Honor Furniture Plaza. It was sent by Ji Jing from the operations department. It was probably a copy of the store's price increase and operating model. Is this thing under my control? He tackled this task with his mind full of doubts. When he opened the company canteen menu, Han Qian closed his eyes and sighed feebly, and continued to deal with it. It was not until the water park project of the Honor Group that Han Qian took it seriously. This project had been negotiated with Yan Qingqing a long time ago, but things kept happening and he didn't take it to heart. Unexpectedly, the project has not been changed. This time the planning department and the project department came together, probably to make the water park connected to Longhuatu tourist area. Regarding this proposal, Han Qian put a check mark on the first page, and then continued to deal with the next item. While dealing with these tasks, Han Qian also encountered some things that he did not understand well. There was no point in asking Qianwan. Han Qian took it. I got up with the document and went to the department manager who made the suggestion to discuss the solution. At noon, Han Qian dragged his tired body back to the general department and handed the half-organized documents to Qianwan. You send the big money over first, and I'll try to finish the rest of the copywriting in the afternoon. Remember to bring me a lunch. Qianwan picked up the document and nodded. Han Qian had a headache looking at the blank document in Longhui Glory Hotel in his hand. What on earth is Yan Qingqing doing? Han Qian didn't dare to ask yet. He just took a bite at lunch and spent the whole afternoon typing in front of the computer, writing, deleting, and writing. Han Qian really didn't know much about hotel operations. At 5 o'clock in the evening, when the general department got off work, Suliang asked Han Qian if he wanted to find a place to have a drink. On this day, it was best to find a barbecue stall under a plastic shed to have a drink. Han Qian, pointing to the second pile of documents on the table, he closed his eyes and shook his head. You guys should get off work first. I may have to work overtime today. Give me your cigarettes. I'm too lazy to go buy them. Suliang smiled and put the cigarette and fire on the table, and whispered that his wife should not be hungry, and he would go to eat with her first. Lili is pregnant, and Han Qian doesn't want to waste Suliang's time. Yao Shui wanted to stay with Han Qian to work overtime. Han Qian declined Yao Shui's kindness, but kept Qianwan. Anyway, she had nothing to do when she went home. Han Qian called Yates and asked about the hotel. Information: Yates's answer did not disappoint Han Qian. She was also exploring. She knew how to work as a secretary, but she still had a headache when working in a hotel. Until 8 o'clock in the evening, Han Qian had no clue and whistled to Qianwan, who was playing games. Take a lot of money, go out to eat, and then get off work. De Qianer stood up and packed his things. The brother and sister ate a bowl of noodles. Han Qian sent Qianwan home and chatted with Qianling about the recent headache. Qianling frowned after hearing this. It's true for Ding Yan. Why does she always get involved in children's affairs? Doesn't she just have a few girlfriends? In ancient times, this was still a matter of honoring the ancestors. Don't listen to your mother. What should you do? Just do whatever you want. If something happens, my aunt will take care of it for you. Han Qian lay on the sofa and said helplessly. What should we do over there at Yan Qingqing's house? Qianling picked up the walnuts on the table and smashed them on Han Qian's forehead, frowning. What should I do? Now the Yan family is begging you to do something. You gave Qingqing the company shares, and you gave Yingying the smooth sailing in the army. How dare the Yan family fart? Qianer, my aunt told you today, if the Yan family dares to act rogue and shamelessly force the palace, I will go and have a good argument with them. They should choose whether to let Qingqing hand over the shares and go home, or let Yan Yingying be expelled from the army. You can't be cruel. Auntie, come down hard. Han Qian sat up, pinched the walnuts and handed them to Qianwan, frowning and whispering. Auntie, isn't this a bit too? It's not too much at all. Except for Wen Nuan and Jijing, the rest of these girls are not satisfied after getting the advantage. What? Our Xiaoqian gave them what they want, and now they are shameless and shameless. They seem to I don't know who is pursuing whom. I don't care if the girls quarrel with you, but whoever dares to gossip in front of your parents, I really need to have a good chat with them. No. I'll call the Yan family now. Telephone. Aunt. It's none of your business. Just sleep here tonight. Don't go back and forth in the middle of the night. Oh. Han Qian dragged his tired body upstairs to send a message to Wen Nuan. Wen Nuan asked Han Qian to take a photo. Han Qian got up and ran to Qian Wan's room to take a video of the girl cursing and playing games. Wen Nuan replied with 2 words. Accurate. Sleeping in his own room at Qian Ling's house, Han Qian was slightly worried about tomorrow and whether he could survive tomorrow. If nothing else happened, Yan's father wouldn't talk to Yan Qingqing about these messy things, right? Early the next morning, when Han Qian got up and walked out of the room, 4 or 5 little girls in maid uniforms were already waiting outside the door. They looked at Han Qian and said in unison, "Good morning, master." Then, in Han Qian's horrified eyes, Han Qian was pushed away by several little girls. He washed, brushed his teeth and changed clothes, but didn't let Han Qian move. Even his underwear was changed by the little girls. Han Qian looked in the mirror. Han Daxian Er, who was refreshed, said softly, "Uncle Zhong, are you treated like this at home?" The old ghost butler appeared quietly behind him and said softly, "It's unique. The eldest lady has to wash herself every day. Master, it's an accident for you. Madam wants you to pay attention to your appearance. After this year, I will hand over the shares to you." Han Qian straightened the tie around his neck and frowned. "Do you think this counts as chasing a duck? This belongs to the big money, I won't take it." The eldest lady seems to have no concept or idea about these. "It's time to go downstairs for breakfast. If you have time, you'd better talk to my aunt. Don't give me this share. I'll work hard to save some dowry for Qian Wan. Can you skip breakfast?" He. It seemed that was not possible. After going downstairs to have breakfast, Qian Ling's life was really a bit luxurious. As soon as Han Qian sat down, Qian Wan murmured in a low voice, "Brother Qian, please go home and live there from now on. This life is so happy. If you stay at home, my aunt won't let cats in the house in the morning. Look at this breakfast." Han Qian smiled and said nothing. Qian Wan turned to look at her aunt. "Auntie, do you know that you are so partial to my breasts?" Qian Ling squinted at Qian Wan, who lowered her head and ate obediently. After breakfast, Qian Ling told Han Qian that she would deal with these old people today, including Li Jinhe, and that he would not have to worry about the old people in the future. Han Qian nodded guiltily. He went to the company with Qian Wan. When he walked in and looked at the piles of documents on the table and the sympathetic looks from all the members of the general department, Han Qian took a deep breath. "You can do it without dying. Damn it. From now on, you can't mess with creatures like women." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 733. There was a lot of work, some of which required Han Qian to prepare for high-level meetings and the board of directors. Han Qian gritted his teeth and dealt with the work. Xiao Yangjia and Qian Wan completely became errands. Xiao Yangjia kept sending documents and taking away documents. The members of the general department all felt that something was wrong. Mr. Yan was going to exhaust Han Qian to death. Yang Lan couldn't stand it anymore, so she got up to look for Yan Qingqing. When she came back, her eyes were slightly red. She was scolded by Yan Qingqing and cried. Sul Yang couldn't help it when Yang Lan cried. He glanced at his brother Han Qian. After another glance at the gentle sister Yang Lan, Sul Yang got up and left the general department to find Yan Qingqing. About half an hour later, little Yang Jia came over again holding the document, put it down and coughed dryly. Ahem. Brothers and sisters, let me convey what Mr. Yan asked me to take. Everyone put down their work and looked at Xiao Yangjia. Xiao Yangjia took a deep breath and shouted. If you want to complain, if you want to quarrel, come to my office right now and start a quarrel with me. Don't come one by one, either you come together or I'll go find you. After saying this, little Yang Jia was slapped on the back of the head. She turned around and looked up at her sister with a frosty face. Little Yang Jia covered her head and said aggrievedly, "Sister." These are the exact words. Brother Liang had a big fight with Mr. Yan and was fined 2 months' salary. Now he is cleaning the women's toilet. After saying this, Han Qian stood up suddenly and frowned. Fine Xiao Liang 2 months' salary? Doesn't she know that Li Li is pregnant? Lu Zhuolong stood up and whispered, "I go." Before he finished speaking, there was a sound of high heels outside the door. This sound and this rhythm made the hairs on the members of the general department stand up instantly. Empress Yasha stood at the door, looked at Lu Zhuolong coldly, and said coldly, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to help Xiao Liang clean the toilet." This guy was really afraid of Yan Qingqing. He stood up and walked out the door. Yan Qingqing looked at Han Qian coldly with 2 documents in her hand and said coldly, "Why are you dissatisfied with my fine of 2 months' salary for Xiao Liang?" Han Qian frowned and looked at Yan Qingqing. Yang Lan and Qianwan were already ready to break up the fight, but Han Qian did not get angry and said softly, "I have no dissatisfaction. You are the general manager and you have the final say." Han Qian actually chose to retreat, which surprised everyone. Yan Qingqing frowned and her face became colder. She stepped forward and threw the 2 documents on Han Qian's desk and said coldly, "I asked you to handle these tasks, what do you mean by putting a check mark on it? If you just say put a check mark, I won't. I will use you." Han Qian closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "Yes. I understand. I will handle it right now. Mr. Yan, do you have any instructions? All these tasks have been taken care of today. A high-level meeting will be held in the afternoon. You can prepare a summary of the main contents of the meeting and give it to me. I'd better clean the toilet. You dare to leave, the general department won't get any salary this month." "Yan Qingqing, you are humming breaking the law." "I do. My man avoids me and doesn't see me. I go to jail to make him worry less. When the hell did I stop seeing you? You don't have a humming idea." Yang Lan and Qianwan stepped forward to pull them apart, but they started to quarrel. Yang Lan whispered that this was a company, and if something happened, they should go home and quarrel. Yan Qingqing glared at Han Qian and gritted her teeth. "You like cleaning toilets, right? Okay. You and Suliang won't get paid for 2 months. You two will get 40,000 yuan for 2 months, right? It's a bonus for the general department. If you dare to miss work for 1 day, I'll start the humming job first except Yao Shui." Yao Shui, who was innocently lying at gunpoint, immediately lay weakly on the table. "Resist. I don't have the guts." Han Qian put down the documents and left the general department. Wasn't he just cleaning the toilet? Just scan. Seeing Han Qian leave the general department, Yan Qingqing pointed at the documents on Han Qian's desk. "Burn them all. A bunch of idiots. Yang Jia, go and tell them that they can't come up with a plan to enjoy the spring before the Chinese New Year, so they are wearing their shirts and handing out leaflets to me on the 39th. Yan Qingqing also left. "Everyone who is left behind, look at me and I will look at you. What is this? The bonus of 40,000 yuan for 2 months is divided among 11 people. That seems to be quite a lot, but is it comfortable to hold this money?" At the door of the women's restroom, Han Qian and Suliang were sitting on plastic buckets smoking cigarettes. Han Qian asked Suliang softly if he had anything to say after being fined 2 months' salary. Suliang laughed. "Just punish me. Our queen has been feeling angry recently. You disappeared for more than half a month. It is said that the last time I went to your house, you didn't even look at her when she tried to talk to you. What's wrong? Did you two quarrel?" Han Qian held a cigarette in his mouth and frowned as he recalled. The last time he saw Yan Qingqing seemed to be when her mother was discharged from the hospital. It seemed that she hadn't seen her in the past half-month. Did Yan Qingqing want to talk that time? There were so many things going on that day that I really didn't pay much attention to her. Was he punished to clean the women's restroom just because of this? Han Qian shrugged. Whatever, how can we not quarrel? I'm worried that Li will be worried. How about I give you 20,000 yuan later? No, she told me to kneel down at home, but I didn't lie down, but she shouldn't interfere in outside matters. Just give her how much I should give her every month. We live as a couple, and I don't want to do anything with the cabinet. Just don't hook up with the little girl. These words made Han Qian feel a little uncomfortable. He glared at Sul Yang, and then the two stood up and walked into the women's restroom. Then there were screams in the women's restroom, and the two guys ran away with their heads in their hands. Han Qian asked Sul Yang angrily what was going on inside. There was a woman. Sul Yang looked confused. No. When Han Qian was cleaning the bathroom on the 10th floor, he met Gao Xingcheng. Vice President Gao looked at Han Qian with strange eyes. Han Qian didn't care what he thought and threw him a rag. Help me clean the mirror. You'll be fine if you stay alone. Gao Xingcheng did not refuse. He was not a child born into a wealthy family. He had to endure all the hardships he had to endure when he was a child. Han Qian mopped the floor and Gao Xingcheng wiped the glass. Han Qian said softly. I heard that your family used to work as servants for the Lu family. I have no other intention, I just want to ask. Gao Xingcheng turned his head and nodded slightly. Yes. But I left the Lu family when I was a teenager. I was not willing to let the whole family work as servants for them. I left home early to start a career, and I didn't have a reason to make a career. Do you hate Jianling? Gao Xingcheng took a deep breath, nodded, and shook his head. I don't hate it anymore. I didn't agree with my sister and Lu Shenga being together in the first place. She is not lucky enough to bear such a blessing. But she is willing. It is her own choice in life. Everyone must be responsible for their own choices. We must also be responsible for ourselves. Han Qian shrugged and smiled. What you said makes sense. Everyone must be responsible for their own choices. After hearing what you said, I feel like I have to apologize. Gao Xingcheng chuckled. Go. I'll help you clean here. Han Qian put down the mop and walked out. At this time, Gao Xingcheng shouted. Han Qian, do I have a chance to take another step forward? Han Qian turned around, exposed half of his body outside the door, and said softly. Which way do you want to go? To start your own business. Gao Xingcheng nodded. Han Qian tilted his head, thought for a while, and smiled. Maybe, but not now. I will not treat anyone around me who treats me sincerely, and I will also not let go of anyone who has plotted against me. Vice President Gao, you have to work hard. Looking at Han Qian's clenched fist, Gao Xingcheng smiled helplessly. Mr. Han, who has nothing, controls the fate of most people in Binhai City. How ridiculous. At this time, Mr. Han had already opened the door of General Manager Yan's office. Yan Qingqing looked up and ignored the guy, lowering her head to deal with the work at hand. Han Qian coughed dryly and put a glass of water on the table. Ahem. Are you busy? Yan Qingqing raised her head and frowned. Can't you see? Hey, let's have lunch together? After saying this, Yan Qingqing put down the document in her hand, raised her head and teased. Oh, Mr. Han is finally willing to see me, a woman who has been relegated to the cold palace. He won't answer calls or reply to text messages. Mr. Han is really awesome. Did you call me? I didn't receive it. Han Qian took out his cell phone and took a look at it, then handed it to Yan Qingqing. Not long after, Yan Qingqing called Nuan Nuan. When Jueying, you used Han Qian's phone to block me. Han Qian often didn't dare to get involved in women's wars. As for when blocked Yan Qingqing, Han Qian didn't know, but he knew why Yan Qingqing I would suddenly get angry and sit on the sofa watching two girls arguing on the phone. The argument lasted for half an hour. Yan Qingqing was so angry at Wen Nuan's attitude of "you are right in everything you say, but I will do it again next time" that she almost smashed Han Qian's phone. He walked up to Han Qian with his mobile phone and frowned. "If I don't contact you, then you don't contact me. My parents had to go to the hospital to visit my future mother-in-law, and I didn't expect them to say so much. I also quarreled with them when I got home, and you didn't ask anything. And then you avoided me and didn't give me a chance to explain." Han Qian raised his head and looked at Yan Qingqing and said softly, "I've been quite busy recently. I was indeed caught off guard by your parents' sudden actions, and I was a little upset. I was worried that it was your idea, and I didn't know what to say when we met. My thoughts?" Yan Qingqing sat next to Han Qian, held his face in her hands, and said seriously, "What do I think? Snatch you with despicable means. Han Qian. If I had used despicable means, I would have drugged you long ago. I am a mother of a child now. I know your character, so I have forced you, and even said that the time I usually spend alone with you is the shortest among all the girls. Besides, my warm parents have not intervened in this matter, so why should I go to my parents?" Han Qian sighed, and Yan Qingqing continued to speak. "I have no choice but to let you work and clean the toilet. You beat Wang Shushan not long ago, which caused an uproar in the company. Every manager looked at you as if he saw a ghost. I have to punish you. You are aggrieved. I'll make it up to you." Han Qian frowned and whispered, "Old man Wang Shushan still has to leave. Didn't he just get some money? As for the compensation, forget it. Don't you have an agreement with Nuan?" Yan Qingqing said softly. "After all, he is in charge of finances. It's fine if you beat him, but you can't take the money. My good brother, can you not be so impulsive in doing things? Next time you are impulsive, you can be impulsive to me. I can do it. When are you going to let Suliang go back to work? Lily is pregnant now, so don't let people worry." Han Qian did not dwell on the impulsive topic, and Yan Qingqing did not continue to seduce Han Qian, frowning and speaking softly. "What does his wife's pregnancy have to do with me? Is this a reason to contradict my boss? Han Qian, he is your friend and also my subordinate. If everyone knows that there is no punishment for blaming me, what should I, the general manager, do?" Han Qian nodded weakly, then Yan Qingqing said again, "I will stay at your house at night and quarrel with Nuan. 2 updates today. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 734. When he got off work, Han Qian went to take a look at the land of the villa. When he got off the car, he shivered. This winter was colder than in previous years. He tightened his tight clothes and lit a cigarette. "I didn't have any thoughts, I simply didn't want to go home." Yan Qingqing went home to find a quarrel with Wen Nuan. As a man, he should stop this war. Unfortunately, he lacked fighting power and could not afford to offend any girl. The sky gradually darkened until it was completely dark. Han Qian called Wei Tiancheng. "If I agree to let you go back, how will you repay me?" On the phone, Wei Tiancheng was silent for a long time and said softly, "I won't go back. The only result will be death if I go back. They won't let me go again." "Oh. Then I'll think about it." Now that the plan has been put into operation, Han Qian is calculating how to get the Lin family out of Chang's Yang group completely, and asking Wei Tiancheng to be a witness to prove Lin Zongheng's murder evidence is the best way to threaten Lin Mend. Unfortunately, this guy does not dare to come back. After getting in the car to go home, he asked if there was any food at home. Nuan told him that he was going to prepare a charcoal roasted fox tonight. Hearing this tone, Han Qian broke into a cold sweat. It seemed that the situation at home was not optimistic. Walking into the house, looking at the warmth sitting on the sofa eating popsicles, and not seeing Yan Qingqing around, Han Qian breathed a sigh of relief, changed his shoes and said softly, "She's back." Just as Wen Nuan was about to speak, Yan Qingqing's voice came from upstairs. "Han Qian. If you dare to call me this name one more time, I will tattoo the image of Riverside during the Qingming festival on your third leg." Along the river during Qingming festival? Han Qian couldn't help but feel a cold wind blowing between his legs. At this time, Wen Nuan told him that he hadn't eaten yet. Neither of them knew how to cook, and neither of them wanted to do it. Han Qian took a look at the leftovers in the refrigerator, and Nuan Wen no objection. When Han Qian walked out of the kitchen with the dishes, Yan Qingqing came downstairs. She was petite, wearing Han Qian's white shirt as if she was wearing a short skirt. Every step she took seemed to have a moment of joy, which made people think about it, but it was just seem. When Nuan cursed Vixen in a low voice and stepped forward to block her. Yan Qingqing smiled and didn't take it to heart at all. Yan Qingqing sat opposite Han Qian, picked up the bowl and said softly, "I only eat a little bit. If you eat too much, you will gain weight." As he spoke, he put his hand on his chest and rubbed it. Han Qian was about to take the bowl, but Nuan reached out and grabbed the full bowl of rice and placed it in front of Yan Qingqing, saying disdainfully, "Which time did you eat less? Why are you pretending to be such a delicate little lady?" Yan Qingqing dragged her chin with one hand and narrowed her eyes. "It's called being affectionate and full of water, and it's called being beautiful and delicious. When I see Han Qian, I don't want to eat anything. I want to save my stomach and eat him." As soon as he finished speaking, Wen Nuan reached out to snatch Yan Qingqing's job. "Then just wait and eat him. You don't need to eat this meal. I want to eat or not. Don't move." When the two girls were fighting for their jobs, the spoon on the table fell to the ground. Han Qian sighed helplessly and bent down to pick up the spoon. This bend happened to see Yan Qingqing's snow-white calves. Han Qian took a deep breath again. After a breath, the guy lost his composure in the next second, and hit his head on the table while he was busy getting up. The sound made the two girls stop fighting. Wen Nuan glared at Han Qian and whispered, "Deserve it?" Yan Qingqing crossed her legs again. The action just now was indeed a bit too bold. Han Qian lowered his head and took a big bite of rice, trying to finish it early and go upstairs to sleep. At this time, Wen Nuan suddenly spoke. "Yan Hu, can you eat well?" Han Qian raised his head to look at Yan Qingqing, and then quickly lowered his head. At this time, Empress Yasha was holding a stick bone in her hand, sucking one end of it to suck the bone marrow inside. She didn't think much about it, but she said it warmly, and Yan Qingqing smiled. Warmth is very simple, so. She regarded all Yan Qingqing's movements as coquettishness. She stood up and walked to the guest room. Then there was a clanking sound in the guest room. When Wen Nuan came out again, she put a hammer in her hand on the table. Yan Qingqing frowned and looked at Wen Nuan. Wen said lightly, "I'll break it open for you. We sisters don't need to be so polite." Yan Qing was stunned for a moment, then laughed. "Smash it open? Ha ha ha, smash it open. Han Qian, please let Nuan break it open for you." "What does it have to do with Han Qian?" With Wen Nuan's eyes confused, Han Qian put down the bowl and said softly, "I'm done eating and going to take a shower." Han Qian managed to escape, and not long after, a warm roar came from downstairs. Yan Ching Ching, are you disgusting, vomit. Little warmth. Do you understand this is called fun? My sister has read countless films, and I will give you tutoring on physiological knowledge. Roll. Xiao Nuan Nuan. Yan Ching Ching was torturing Wen Nuan downstairs like a demon. Han Qian turned on the music and took a bath peacefully. After taking a bath and preparing to go to bed, Yan Ching Ching blocked the door. Han Qian took a deep breath, turned around and went downstairs to sit on the single sofa and hug him. Holding a pillow, Yan Ching Ching walked downstairs unhurriedly, twisted her soft waist to come to Han Qian, turned around and bent down to pick up the remote control on the table, then got up and turned on the TV to find the fitness channel. This bitch doesn't do yoga. Instead of working out, he dances with the teacher on TV. Twisting his waist like a water snake, every movement was very seductive. Han Qian suddenly understood why ancient emperors became mediocre in their later years. Who could withstand such temptation? After watching for a while, Han Qian held down the pillow in his arms and turned his gaze to the balcony with difficulty. At this time, Nuan Nuan also took a shower and walked downstairs, looking at Yan Ching Ching with disdain. You are destined to never become the daughter-in-law who enters the house just because of your pretense. Yan Ching Ching wiped the sweat from her forehead, narrowed her eyes and smiled. You are dignified. You are elegant. You are the daughter-in-law. But I am different. I am my husband's wife first, and then my parents-in-law's daughter-in-law. You don't understand the joy of bed and the joy of a boudoir. Wen Nuan replied disdainfully. Don't you think you are stupid for a virgin talking about boudoir pleasures with a woman who has been married for 3 years? Yan Ching Ching narrowed her eyes and smiled. I'll take your seat, uncle. Get out of here, I want to watch TV. The time for bears has passed, and the broadcast of 11 Yang Yang has ended. I suggest you watch Big Ears Tutu. Uncle Niu next door is very suitable for you. After finishing her words, Yan Ching Ching grabbed her collar and shook it. It's so hot. Does your home have enough heating? While speaking, Lady Yasha unbuttoned a button, and her plumpness was ready to come out. This moment made her warm and exciting heart break, and she gritted her teeth. Watch out for sagging. Yan Ching Ching narrowed her eyes and smiled. While talking, Yan Ching Ching kept moving towards Han Qian, and finally sat on the sofa next to Han Qian, crossing her legs and leaning forward. Han Qian just glanced at it, and Nuan Nuan had already grabbed the remote control and was about to hit him. In fact, Han Qian didn't want to see it, but the temptation was a bit too great. Yan Qingqing's grasp of a man's heart was too accurate. She always let her love slip inadvertently. No matter how upright Han Qian was, he couldn't bear to have such a vixen around him. Can't stop. If the spring sunshine has been leaking, you may not want to look at it after one glance. This looming thing still attracts the heart that wants to be at peace but can't. Brother. Han Qian turned his head and looked at Yan Ching Ching, who suddenly spoke. Why did she suddenly come up with this title? He used to be called Brother Qian, but when he was suddenly called brother, Han Qian's heart trembled. Why does it sound so comfortable? Elder brother. Huh? Here we come. Han Qian seemed a little nervous, when Nuan glared at Han Qian and said contemptuously. Look at your useless energy. Han Qian scratched his head in embarrassment and whispered. I'm going to sleep first, you two have fun. Had to leave. He went upstairs, took off his clothes and got into bed. Before he could close his eyes, the door was pushed open. Nuan Nuan walked in, hugging the quilt and lying next to Han Qian. Han Qian didn't bother to ask any more. After a while, Yan Qingqing's body appeared at the door and whispered. Nuan Nuan, won't you sleep with me? Why do I sleep with you when I have a husband? Then lend me your husband. No borrowing. Oh. There was disappointment in his words, but his body was very direct. He climbed onto the tatami and got into the warm quilt and started to take off his clothes. After a while, Wen Nuan suddenly let out a scream. "Why did you take off your clothes?" Yan Qingqing whispered with a grieved face. "First level sleep, aren't you used to it?" "I'm not used to it." "Then Han Qian and I sleep together, he is used to it, right brother?" Han Qian pretended not to speak. Slowly, the room became quiet. The three people were breathing evenly and seemed to have fallen asleep. Sudden. Yan Qingqing suddenly sat up and held down Wen Venan and rushed towards Han Qian. As a result, Wen Venan grabbed her hair and pulled her back. She pulled the quilt over Yan Qingqing's head. The two women started fighting, but Han Qian hid under the quilt and remained motionless. He didn't dare to move, he was afraid of being executed on the spot by the two girls, and he was also afraid that the two girls would be killed by him here. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 735. Yan Qingqing didn't calm down that night, and would wake up suddenly in the second half of the night. Finally, Wen Nuan dragged her out of the room and locked Han Qian's door. Han Qian fell into a drowsy sleep. Early the next morning, he suddenly felt that his head was pressed by something. He opened his eyes with difficulty, and what he saw was gray. Soft. Yan Qingqing bent over and sat next to Han Qian. Han Qian struggled to sit up and frowned. Should there be news tomorrow that a certain woman was too plump and a certain man was suffocated to death? Yan Qingqing chuckled, when Nuan leaned against the door and said disdainfully. "You've been tormenting me all morning just for this? Are you going to hit Han Qian's head with your two lead balls?" "Yan Hu, I've found out. You have no future at all. Just leave with me after you're done. Haven't you always wanted to recruit some of Chang Xiang's partners? Let me introduce you to them." Yan Qingqing turned to look at Wen Nuan and exclaimed. "When did you become so sensible? Let's go home with me and change clothes first." "I can't wear your clothes." The two women chattered away, leaving Han Qian with a confused look on his face. Is this the end? I lay down and continued to sleep. Just as I was about to go to sleep, I was woken up by the ringing of my cell phone. Give me a reason why you're calling now. I suddenly want to surrender. Han Qian sat up, frowned and said seriously. Are you sure? I will arrange for someone to pick you up now. Oh, no one else is needed, just come to me and talk to you about life before going to jail. After all, I have given you so much. Where? Take Guandegu with you. You will know the address soon. The call was hung up. Han Qian looked at the phone in his hand with confusion on his face. Is Feng Lun going to surrender? With doubts, he called Guandegu and told him to prepare to see Feng Lun immediately, and then contacted him on the phone. When Han Qian put down his hands to wash up, he suddenly heard someone knocking on the door downstairs. His nerves were instantly tense, and he went downstairs and walked in. The kitchen took out a sharp knife and stuck it behind his back. He didn't see anyone through the peephole, but the knock on the door was still there. Slowly opening the door, a child appeared in front of Han Qian. He looked about 7 or 8 years old. He handed it to Han Qian with a book in his hand, then turned around and ran. Han Qian opened the book and a piece of paper fell out, with a number written on it. Han Qian dialed, and after a long time the call was connected. An old man told Han Qian the meeting location in broken Chinese. After putting on his windbreaker and hat, Han Qian went downstairs. Looking at the Volvo parked at the entrance of the community, Han Qian struggled for a while and finally made a decision. He took out his phone and called Li Jinhai. Second uncle, Feng Lun may be in Binhai. He asked me to meet in Longhua too. He wants to surrender. Li Jinhai was silent for a long time on the phone and told Han Qian to be careful. He would send people to Longhuishao to collect some points now. After Han Qian got in the car, Guan Yunbiao took out a pistol with a silencer and handed it to Han Qian. Just in case, brother Han. I feel that Feng Lun will not surrender this time. Han Qian hid the pistol in the inner pocket of his windbreaker and frowned. I couldn't imagine what he was going to do. Every move he made would catch me off guard. He made an appointment with Long to look back. Guan Yunbiao nodded. The two of them drove straight to Longhuiwai. Halfway through, it started to snow. The snow was very heavy and slowed down the car. The original 20-minute journey took twice as long. As soon as Han Qian and Feng Lun got out of the car, Feng Lun the call came over. Han Go, you are very dishonest. I told you that you could only bring Guan Yunbiao here, but you still informed the people in the city bureau. These two dogs are called Han Qian and Lu Shenga? They are very good names. How do you know their names? This sentence was not said by Han Qian, but came from Feng Lun's mobile phone. Han Qian took out another mobile phone and looked for Yates's number, growling. Feng Lun, I advise you to stay away from her, don't force me. At this time, Yates's cell phone ringtone came from the phone, followed by two noisy dog barks. After only 2 barks, the 2 dogs whined and became silent. Feng Lun laughed. Get to Dongcheng in 20 minutes. If you are a second late, I will take off a dog's leg. This doesn't seem to be illegal. I forgot to mention that if you delay any longer, the policeman who was stripped naked and hung on the tree may freeze to death. Dongcheng has prepared a gift for you. Han Qian nodded to Guan Yunbiao. Guan Yunbiao turned elegantly on the snow-covered horse and headed to Dongcheng. Longhuatu and Dongcheng were located in the west and east of the city by the sea, with a distance of 30 kilometers between them. Feng Lun had calculated the distance, and he also guessed that Han Qian would call the police. In the backyard of Yashai Pavilion, Feng Lun was dressed exaggeratedly in a white mink coat, with gemstone rings on all 10 fingers, his hair dyed white, and a pair of sunglasses on his face. Yates stood behind him. Su Hongchang was lying on the snow with blood on his face. He could only breathe out but not in. Rottweiler's body was also stained with blood. He was sitting with his broken front legs and bared teeth. In front of Yates, Dupan's fate was similar to that of Su Hongchang. Monsieur, I hope you can catch this silly dog and stop causing trouble, otherwise it may really die. I have raised dogs, and I know how painful it is for you to kill 2 of them in front of you. Yates grabbed Rowena's collar, glared at Feng Lun with disheveled hair, and growled. I'll make you pay. Feng Lun stretched out and looked at Yates with disdain on his face. Rowena watched this human being walking towards his mother. He instantly stood up and let out a low roar, mixed with bright red saliva flowing out from the corner of his mouth. Feng Lun frowned and snorted coldly. Kui Li on the side took out a pistol and pointed it at Rowena's head. Seeing this, Yates hugged Rowena as if he was crazy. Feng Lun sneered disdainfully. Tisk, 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 a human life is not worth a dog, I really don't understand what you capitalists think. After saying this, he walked up to Su Hongchang, bent down, grabbed his hair and lifted his head up. He made a fist with the gem ring's right hand and hit Su Hongchang's head hard. When his head fell to the ground, it bounced an inch. At this moment, Feng Lun's leather shoes also it's already stuck on his face. Su Hongchang rolled on the snow and spit out blood. Feng Lun stepped forward and looked at Su Hongchang, who was not far from death, and frowned. I don't understand why you are so loyal to Han Qian, Su Hongchang. I gave you the way to return to Binhai City. Why did you betray me? Did you fall in love with that little star? Su Hongchang said with difficulty as there was blood at the corner of his mouth. One servant is not unfaithful to the 2 masters. The one I am loyal to, is Yashai Pavilion. Feng Lun clenched his fist and pointed it at Su Hongchang's mouth, frowning and speaking again. Why are you so persistent? If you cooperate with me, Han Qian will have become my pawn, Lao Su. You really disappoint me. As soon as he finished speaking, he punched Su Hongchang on the lips. Su Hongchang's body twitched, and he kept rolling on the ground with his hands covering his mouth, but he couldn't make any sound. Feng Lun stood up and stretched. Ah! Xili, break your legs. We should go. Kui Li frowned and looked at Feng Lun, and then received a slap on the forehead. Kui Li obediently obeyed and took Su Hongchang to the swimming pool. At this time, Feng Lun glanced at Yates and laughed. If you were here last night, I might have done something outrageous to you. Your character and appearance are all in my taste. I advise you not to save Su Hongchang, because everything he did today was because of it was caused by Han Qian. If Han Qian had just told me not to touch him, I would have moved him just as I wouldn't move you. If Han Qian had told me not to move these two dogs, I would not have moved either. After finishing his words, Feng Lun turned to look at Su Hongchang and shouted loudly. Su Hongchang! Did you hear that? Han Qian didn't ask me to touch you. In his heart, there is only Yates, a woman. In his eyes, you are not even as good as these two dogs. Then there was a wailing sound, and Su Hongchang was thrown into the frozen swimming pool. Feng Lun and Kui Li strode away. After walking far away, Feng Lun took out his gun and pointed it at Yates. If you dare to call the police, I will go to the capital to find your parents. Be good. Don't save Su Hongchang, otherwise Han Qian will have an enemy more deadly than Guan Dagu. Feng Lun left. Yates stood there, struggling with whether or not to rescue Su Hongchang as Feng Lun said. Yates took a deep breath and took out his mobile phone. I am Yates. 2 of my dogs are injured. Come and pick them up. After hanging up the phone, Yates walked to the swimming pool and looked coldly at Su Hongchang, who was lying on the ice covered in blood and passed out. Save or not? For the first time in Yates's life, a difficult choice appeared. Save or not? Long looked back, and Li Jinhai looked at his men hanging on the tree. His lungs were about to explode. He always thought that Feng Lun was a mouse and their Yamanman was a cat, but now Li Jinhai didn't dare to think that way. Feng Lun is not a mouse, he is a wolf, a cunning, outrageous wolf. Li Jinhai knows very well that Feng Lun has no fighting ability, and the only one who can fight is Kui Li beside him. The police officer was rushed to the hospital. Li Jinhai took out his mobile phone and called Yeji at Yashai Pavilion. Feng Lun is nearby. Have you gone to Yashai Pavilion? No. Yates's answer was decisive. No, nothing happened, everything is fine in Yashai Pavilion. Outside Dongcheng, in an abandoned factory that had left the city, Han Qian and Guan Yunbiao saw a person hanging from the roof, a girl. The little girl was also stunned when she saw Han Qian and Guan Yunbiao, and then she kept struggling to make noises to them, not asking for help, but yelling. Guan Yunbiao tilted his head and said suspiciously. Brother Han, is this the wealthy lady in our city? Han Qian's eyes twitched slightly. I feel like we're both in trouble. Niu Xiahua is tied up, Feng Lun is a lunatic.